Bipolar disorder, an illness affecting millions worldwide, including men and women, both here in the United States. Part of bipolar disorder is a condition commonly referred to as agitation. Symptoms include overwhelming tenseness and restlessness, leading at times to more serious outward aggression. With us today to discuss its impact and less invasive treatments aimed at controlling this illness are Dr. Scott Zeller, Chief of Psychiatric Services at Alameda County Medical Center, and Alan Doderlein, President of the Depression and Bipolar Support Alliance. Gentlemen, welcome to the both of you.
Thank you.
Doctor, I want to start here with you this morning. Broadly speaking, what is bipolar illness disorder?
Well, bipolar disorder is a serious mental illness, and bipolar actually means two poles. And so a patient can experience severe extremes of mood. On one pole, you would have depression. And the other one is a condition called mania, where people get extremely excited. They can have what seems like racing thoughts in their head, feel quite overconfident, and be using poor judgment at times.
Interesting. I want to ask this, and I want to bring you here for the second question, Alan. What triggers, I guess, or brings on an episode of bipolar depression? Let's say it's agitation or something like that. Are there any external triggers?
Very often, very often. You will experience whether an immediate stimulus in your environment. So if someone is being particularly argumentative with you, or you got some bad news, onto a particular moment in your life. So a major life event like a death, a birth, losing your job. So it can be something very small and immediate, or something large scale. And sometimes the trigger isn't obvious. Everybody's different. I was going to
ask you that, right.
You can't always tell, and everyone's different as to what will and will not trigger them. But generally speaking, acts that are distressing or making you, feel like you're being attacked can bring out the agitation in a lot of people with bipolar disorder.
You know, at the top of the segment, I mentioned agitation. We're not talking about normal everyday agitation. Let's say I change the remote and my husband gets upset because I'm changing from his favorite football game. We're talking about something entirely different and far more serious here, right?
Absolutely. I think in the popular imagination, we say, oh, I feel agitated.
Yeah.
And that's a momentary thing. It passes, you get over the remote. It's something that takes hold and makes you feel almost like you can't escape it. So if you're experiencing agitation, when I have experienced agitation, it's almost like you have to do something, but you don't know what.
Yeah, we talk about escalation, and when the concept of agitation is excessive verbal and or motor behavior. You can actually start off just being kind of irritable, sarcastic, maybe even a little bit of hostility, and then as he has referred to escalation, it can keep going up until you get where you're unable to control yourself, very anguished, having a lot of fear, maybe even starting to lash out, and at the very far end would be combativeness, and that's something we'd like to avoid, obviously.
So stay with us. I want you all to stay with us as well on this segment, Bipolar Disorder, Coping with Agitation, because we've got a lot more great information for you coming up right after this break, so don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. You know, Doctor, you blew my mind a little bit because during the break you showed me some pretty revealing things that have been penciled out by patients as they're going through some of these agitation episodes. I'd like to put some of those up on the monitor so that you at home could see it. And I want you, Doctor, to walk me through exactly what's going on here.
Well, these are people who are drawing out their memories of an episode of agitation. And you've got a vertical line axis, if you will, of how severe the agitation was, and going towards the right is over time. And this is a description by patients showing that they had an initial period where you can see, like we were talking about before, the escalation. Things seem to be getting worse and worse. And it's interesting that in their memories, they remember how things were getting worse, and there was a time they wished they could have gotten more help and more interventions, and then it kind of keeps rising up until it's a point where they kind of regrets what's happened.
That's very interesting, and I also loved the fact that they were very open, and I saw on the one sheet, the one patient said, this is where I know a violent episode is about to occur. And it goes back to exactly what we talked about. They know, and
Yes.
they can feel that they're getting to, and you can probably chime in here on that.
Well, absolutely. What I notice is that it starts with things that may actually be imperceptible to others, and then there's a point where it's almost you're driven or compelled to act, and that's where you might run into danger. So you as a person experiencing agitation know that when you can't hide it anymore, it's gotten to a point where you really do need help.
And you have to do something about it. So how can patients who are experiencing agitation speak up or advocate for themselves? I want to begin with you, Dr. Zeller, on this.
Well, the fact that they actually know they need help, they should go and seek it. Medical professionals are there and want to help, and it can be difficult sometimes to realize that you're losing control and you really need help. But we want to work with you collaboratively and help in any way we could get you through this time of crisis.
Okay.
I think that word collaboration is really important. You really do want the same thing, but as a person who's experiencing agitation, you might feel combative, as the doctor said, and so you are inherently resisting. But what I hope people can remember if they're experiencing agitation, and perhaps if you get into an emergency room situation, is that the care professionals absolutely want the same thing that you do. If you can connect with them and be very honest about what's going on, you'll have the best chance of getting the treatment you need.
Dr. Zeller, can you shed some light then, I guess, on some new medical developments that are providing some hope in terms of coping with this type of bipolar disorder?
Yes, traditionally the treatment for agitation has been adversarial, if you will, where staff will be holding down a patient involuntarily and they'll be injected with painful medications. What we're seeing now is new rapid onset collaborative medications where a patient can take and it'll be non-invasive and actually work for them quickly and get them out of their state of anguish.
I think that's very important to mention because when you talk about being able to help and provide hope, that's at the end of the day what we want to do, right?
Well, and I think something you can take your own control of is inherently more empowering, and it's going to be something that you want to do rather than feeling like you have to, you're being forced. Anything that allows a patient to take control and do what she or he wants, that's really important.
And it helps to build a therapeutic alliance between the doctor and the patient, which is really important. It helps for the long-term health of the patient.
Certainly glad that you all both stopped by to share this really wonderful information with me. Thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us insight. And doctor, as always, good to have the medical perspective as well. So thanks to the both of you.
Thank you.
And good luck. For more information on bipolar conditions and today's timely medical topic, please visit the website alexa.com. And for information about bipolar signs and symptoms, go to dbsalliance.org.